Hello and welcome back. I'm your host, Steve Mitchell, and you're on Bike Walk, Connecticut, and I am here today with Amy Watkins from, what are you from? Watch for Me, huh?
Hi, Steve. I'm from Watch for Me CT. That's a program of the Connecticut Department of Transportation that is managed by Connecticut Children's.
Okay. That was actually my first question. So what is the association with Children's? Is your office there? How are you connected with Children's Hospital and DOT?
Great question. A lot of people don't understand, and reasonably so. Connecticut Children's has an injury prevention center. It's a public health focused community injury prevention center that covers many different injuries, including motor vehicle injuries. And when this DOT wanted to create something to prevent bicycle and pedestrian death and injury, they reached out to the Injury Prevention Center and offered to give us a grant to do that work.
Okay, so what is your association with DOT then?
Right. So my actual employer is Connecticut Children's, but my project, Watch for Me, is funded 100% by the state DOT Highway Safety Office. Okay. So we work in collaboration with the Highway Safety Office on all of our initiatives, our collateral. So we work hand in hand with them. It's really their program, and we're just the implementers of the safety program.
Okay. So, although I'm on Bike Walk Connecticut, as most of you know out there, I'm a car dealer, and cars are just a mode of transportation as well as bicycling and walking and rollerblading, and we'll get into the whole e-bike discussion pretty soon because that's becoming an interesting issue. We'll get into that, but in terms of traffic deaths, in terms of accidents, it seems like COVID was a good thing for traffic deaths. Were they down in those years?
They
or
were
they
not.
Up? They were not.
They were not. So we actually we did a study during that time period. We expected, as in many other times in U.S. history and even world history, when there's been a recession or some other kind of crisis, usually when traffic reduces, the number of fatalities reduces.
You would think.
And that's what we thought. But when the numbers actually bore out, what we saw was a rise in road fatalities. And it was due to a few things. One being that congestion actually slows cars. If there's a bunch of people in front of you, you can't go 100 miles an hour. And what we saw when everyone came off the roads, the few people who were driving started to drive extremely fast and more recklessly. So that was also combined with reduced enforcement. Police were worried about the virus, et cetera. And so we had a reduction in enforcement. We had a reduction in congestion. We had wide open roads, and people took that as a reason to go fast. And so what we saw was a rise in single car crashes, people leaving the road and going into objects. And we even saw a very sharp rise at the tail end of the pandemic of pedestrian deaths. So we had one of our worst years was 2022. We had about 75 pedestrian deaths in just that year when we normally are around 50 to 60. So it was a very terrible year. So a lot of things happened during the pandemic that were unexpected that actually made that problem worse.
Is it compounded by, is there stats or is there research out there having to do with the cell phones, having to do with people driving like a NASCAR driver? Does it have to do, I know the police chief here in Simsbury said, don't always blame the driver, the pedestrians, and I see the pedestrians walking, texting on their phone, and they walk off into the road. It's like, what's going on?
So there's, it's all of the things.
Yeah.
So Connecticut, unfortunately, has a pretty bad record for impairment. We're one of the states with some of the worst impaired driving behaviors. We have a great deal of speeding, like everywhere else. We advertise faster moving cars as part of our culture. And the faster you're going, the more likely you are to be killed or injured or kill and injure somebody else. So we have cars driving fast, driving aggressively, people disobeying basic traffic laws and signage. Yep. We have larger vehicles being made. We have distraction. we have impairment, we have all manner of things that are contributing to the problem. And as far as distracted pedestrians, what we really always want to come back to is the people with the greatest responsibility are those behind the wheel, because a distracted pedestrian isn't likely to kill somebody else. They may themselves get injured if they step out into the road and they're not paying attention. But it's really the distracted driver that has the potential to do a lot of harm. So in the end,
you're driving a $4,000, 4,000 pound, 4,000 pound torpedo. That's what I told when I was teaching my kids how to drive. Just remember, you are driving a 4,000 pound torpedo on 4 wheels.
Right. And the percentage of the fleet that is SUV and light truck at this point is getting bigger every year.
Right.
And the way that a vehicle with a flat front end or a high front end impacts a person that's out of the car is far more dangerous and more deadly than any sedan. So what we're seeing is the size, the weight, the speed, and the design of the cars are all contributing to more deaths on the road.
But ultimately, it's the person driving the car.
Yes, they need to be focused on driving. They
so
do. And
don't blame the car.
They're so, of course not.
Totally.
No, and cars come with many safety features and lots of safety, but they also come with a lot of distracting features. So that's another thing too.
I know, totally now, as a car dealer and as somebody in the automotive industry, long gone are the days where you know where the buttons are.
Yeah, and you just can feel where the button is.
Just kind of think, but now it's these screens, these huge screens,
and you have to look.
And you've got to kind of take your eyes off the road for a few seconds and change your channel or do whatever or get your navigation.
And you can travel a long way in just a few seconds.
Yes, so says the person that hit me in 1987 when she was paying attention to her 2-year-old in the back of the seat.
Yep.
In the back seat, and she was not paying attention for about 4 or 5 seconds.
That's all it takes.
When she hit me. Yeah. And but at any rate, I went backwards to the windshield of a car. So
and you are lucky that you survived that.
I'm very
lucky. Was it a sedan?
It was a sedan.
Yeah,
it was a Toyota something.
Lucky you, because with this, you're more likely to go over onto the windshield, which is a safer situation than under a vehicle, which is more likely to happen with those high front ends.
Right. No. That was my bike actually went underneath the car.
Oh goodness.
And
you went over.
I went backwards into the windshield.
Yeah, scary stuff.
Back to the point that you were making about the impaired drivers. I tried to get a bill passed this year about bicycle helmets for 50, make it mandatory for 15, 16, and 17-year-olds. I don't think that bill's going to pass, but they should. Every kid riding a bike should wear a helmet. But the one thing I was listening to while I was at the Capitol was a police officer talking about impaired drivers. And what his point was, which I found very interesting, was that Connecticut is one of the very few states, and we lose federal funding because we allow open containers throughout, as long as the driver is not drinking.
Yes, yeah.
But other people in the car can be drinking as much as they want. What's that all about?
I wish I knew what that was all about. It is, we are one of the few states that allows this. It doesn't really make a lot of sense why we would have that be something that's allowed. Again, that open container in a vehicle. And you don't know if the driver's drinking out of it or not. I mean, it's just simple matter of handing it to someone else. Obviously, if you're pulled over and you fail a field sobriety test, then that would be the only way that we would catch you doing something like that. But it just makes no sense to have alcohol inside a vehicle when people need to be paying attention.
Yep.
And talk about distraction. If your passengers are
Passing
very distracting,
So,
then you're looking at them, you're talking to them, and that takes your eyes and your mind off the road.
Yeah. So, the one thing I've thought of, because I'm also a pilot, and every 2 years as a pilot, you have to prove to an instructor that you are capable of flying an airplane and that you know the rules of the airways.
Yes.
And those change all the time. That as a driver, as a motor vehicle driver, all I have to do every 3, 4, 5 years is send a check to DMV. I get my license renewed.
Like 7 years, I think. It's a long time.
My mother, who was 96 years old,
Yeah.
sent a check in. She was good for another 5 years.
Right. Right.
What?
And yeah, people.
Has there ever been any legislation about?
We have tried. I say we, like many people in the state are interested in this driver retraining topic. It's come up in the Vision Zero Council meetings. It's come up in a lot of places, and because it does seem like it is a problem that you get trained when you're in your teens, and then you can drive 20, 40, 60 years before, and you never have to take a class again. And over those decades, laws change, rules change, infrastructure changes. So, something like the 3-foot bicycle passing law.
Right. Many rules.
People
Good
don't
example.
know about
Right.
it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of laws that people don't even realize are there because they've had no opportunity to relearn that. One of the things that was addressed in the latest round of transportation bills that were passed, per the recommendations of the Vision Zero Council, was to implement a video at each license registration. Actually, I think it's every other license registration, so it's every 14 years. So not ideal, but going in the right direction. And it is a video to summarize new laws, new rules, new things involving bikes and peds and other driving things that people need to know. So there is an instructional video. It's probably very short. I haven't seen it yet. I know it's probably, with just a couple minutes, hardly makes up for the kind of training that you would get as a pilot throughout your career. And I think it's a big issue. People get used to their driving habits, whether they're legal and correct or not. Right. And new things happen and they're not aware of it. And when the pedestrian rules legislation came out, which was the wave and the anti-dooring, that came out in 2021, the DOT actually implemented a whole advertising campaign around it to try to educate people about the new laws. But the number of people who can say that they've seen that,
right.
I mean, it's very hard to reach people.
Yep.
And even though they invested a lot of dollars into raising awareness about the new law, it doesn't reach everybody. So people don't know what the changes are.
Yeah, that's kind of brings me to a point, and I'll just say out there to everybody, I'll ask a question. Are you a bicycle-friendly driver? And the League of American Bicyclists, actually, it's on their website, and we'll put the website down below here. It's called bikeleague.org, and there is a test, a quiz on there. I took it. I passed it. I got 100. I got 100.
You better pass, Steve.
I better. But it's called the Bicycle Friendly Driver Training is now online, and there's a quiz on there on bikeleague.org. Go on there, try it. Try it yourself. And it kind of brings you up to. It brings to your conscious. Are you capable of driving safely around pedestrians and bicyclists? Yeah. So. That's a good thing. That's a good resource.
People might be surprised what their score turns out to be because they may not know some of this stuff. Be very interesting to try it out.
What goes on in your world in terms of let's talk about e-bikes for a minute. I know in Massachusetts, I've been made aware that anyone under the age of 16 is not allowed to ride an e-bike. It's illegal for 16-year-olds and under to. So what's going on? Some of these e-bikes are getting scary. They can go very fast. It's so unfortunately easy to disable the speed controls and things like that. They are becoming more popular, which is great for a lot of reasons. Half the bike sales now are e-bikes.
I mean, if you need that extra help to get out and ride, that's excellent. But what a lot of people don't realize is that Connecticut has a law that requires a helmet for everybody, no matter what their age is, to wear a helmet when they're riding an e-bike.
That's interesting that they would do that for e-bikes, but not motorcycles.
Yes, I know. I don't know how that slipped through, but it did, thankfully. Because it's all about managing kinetic energy.
So that's something you just made me aware of. I wear a helmet all the time. I'm a recycling instructor. I better damn well wear a helmet, right. and I do. But so anyone riding an e-bike on a public road, obviously, has to wear a helmet. So that's
right.
So,
And it's just based on the fact that the speed that you're able to go and you're unprotected, and any number of things can happen. Not only running into having a vehicle collision, but like I wrote it in a post today, sand, squirrels, sticks, you just never know what is going to be in front of you. And when you are going 20, 30 or more miles an hour and you have no protection at all,
right.
Same thing with motorcycles, you can get very, very injured or killed, and it's not worth it. So we want people to wear helmets.
Right.
For sure.
Right. What other areas do you, and how do you get the word out for Watch Me Guide? Because I've heard it's either you or somebody does a voiceover at the AMP radio on the gas stations.
It's not me. It's our media company. So we have a few different things we do. We do have a media company that we work with that helps us with gas station radio, digital things that show up on your phone, reminding you about being a safe driver, et cetera. We do a lot of things through media, but then we also do a lot of outreach. We go out to communities, we meet with people, we help towns implement educational programs. We help.
Do you go to high schools?
We'll do just about anything that anybody needs, but each town is different, what people are looking for and what kind of outreach they think they need. But we do a lot of that community engagement and working from one side of the state to the other and trying to bring this safety information to people.
What communities would you highlight are the top 5 that come to your mind in terms of their engagement with bike ped safety?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I mean, there's so many cities doing a lot of good work.
Name me a few.
New Haven and Hartford are doing great work.
Yep.
Waterbury had a particularly bad year last year. They had 10 pedestrian deaths, almost 10% of all of our ped deaths, which was very unusual for Waterbury. But they have partnered with us to implement some educational materials at bus stops and on buses.
Yep.
So they're getting very involved. They have a Vision Zero plan that they're working on through the Naugatuck Valley COG. But it's our smaller towns, Simsbury, Canton, Norwalk, Fairfield, New Milford. I mean, all across the state, there are people who care about this that are really trying to do something.
They should all become bike-friendly communities, don't you think?
Yes, they should.
So, yes, and in full disclosure here, you're one of our newest board members on Bike Walk Connecticut, and we're very honored and glad to have you on the board. What would be some of your goals, or what are some of your aspirations of being on the board, and what do you think we can accomplish between Watch for Me CT and being on Bike Walk Connecticut?
Yeah.
How do we get the word out to on bike safety, ped safety, and what would you like to see more of? You talked before we got on air a little bit about the infrastructure that we're kind of at the mercy at this point of the DOTs of the past, so we can't blame the people at DOT now, but in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, for example, Route 44 was a safe road to ride on when I was a kid. It was 2 lanes. It had a nice wide shoulder. Speed limit 40, 45 miles, whatever it was. It was perfectly safe. And then in the 70s, ConnDOT came through and made it 4 lanes with how much of a bike lane? 0.
Yeah, right.
So now how do we start correcting the sins of the past? I think Commissioner Euclid started a new unit there?
Yeah, an active transportation unit. So the DOT has for many years now been committed to safety on the roads and making that more of a priority than ever before. So Commissioner Euclid is currently the head of AASHTO. Like they have I'm not sure the title, if it's president or what it is, but his whole theme for his leadership in AASHTO for this year is centering safety.
Okay.
So he's extremely committed to this. And in addition, the DOT and the federal government also have been pouring money into infrastructure with the idea that it becomes more safe, more inclusive, multimodal,
Right.
all of those things.
Complete streets is part of that?
Complete
Yeah,
streets,
okay,
Vision
yep.
Zero. There's a lot of commitment across, from the top down coming in, realizing that we need to construct the roads in a safer way. We need to include all modes of transportation for many reasons, for safety, but also for our environment, for mental health, for so many reasons. It's good to have people, out of cars using other things whenever they can.
Yeah, no, and you're bringing to mind a conversation I've had with Mark Hoffman down in New Britain, and his discussion, our discussion that we had about the people in New Britain that 10-15% of the population in New Britain, or maybe more, can't afford a car.
Absolutely.
And
Same thing with Hartford.
around.
30% of Hartford households are carless. Right. So, there are quite a few. There's people who bike for pleasure and exercise and recreation, and there's people who bike for utility. A lot of people. They get to work that way. They get to the store that way. And we need to be thinking about all of these people and caring about all of these people. Yep. There's people. All of us are pedestrians, whether we have 10 cars or no car. Right. We're all at some point have to get out and walk somewhere.
Walk from the studio to your car.
Absolutely. So, it affects everybody. There's always a moment for safety for everybody.
Right.
But to circle back to some of your other questions, I'm super honored to be on the Bike Walk board, very excited. And one of the things that when I took on this job at Watch For Me is what I learned quickly was that there's a lot of great people doing great things in pockets around the state. Right. And I knew right away that we had a better chance of making a difference if we got together, if we shared ideas, if we linked up, if we shared priorities, if we supported one another. So Bike Walk connecting with Watch For Me is an excellent opportunity to amplify our messages, to share our information, and to just collaborate to kind of keep moving this forward.
Right. And you know this, but out there you might not know this. The Connecticut went from 20th in the country this past year. The last survey that they did, we're now number 13 in the country.
Nicely done.
And I believe that was a lot of communication that Anna Bergeron and her unit did with others out there in the community, because as you said, DOT in the past has been kind of very insular. They've operated within their own little group to fill out those application for bike-friendly state, and they didn't used to collaborate. Now they are, and so it's a much better situation. Like I said, we went from 20th to 13th.
Right, and that's what collaboration can do. Because if you don't know what other folks are doing, then you don't know. You're reinventing the wheel. You're starting from scratch. You're not aware of things you can piggyback on. And the more we're sharing these things, the better we all are.
Yeah. So, and hopefully, as a unit, as a nonprofit, Bike Walk Connecticut, in case you're not aware of what it is, it's right now we're in central Connecticut. We're very focused around the Hartford area, but we don't want to be. One of our goals, we've said, if you're in the New London area, New Haven area, Bridgeport, Waterbury, we love if you would like to be on the board or collaborate and be in alliance with us. We welcome your comments. We welcome, your help. Even within your own community, you can be a spark plug, as I call it, and advocate for your town to become a bike-friendly community. Mm-hmm. The other thing I'm going to say about bike-friendly community is, although it is an award, a thing through the League of American Bicyclists, it has a spillover effect to pedestrians.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So when the towns, when the municipalities start paying attention, such as Manchester this year Manchester and Wethersfield just got the award, but it has a lot to do with their own planning. Canton and Avon has recently spent a lot of money with a bike ped plan. So your town, your community, what is their bike ped plan? They may or may not have one, but they should. And any other further comments or thoughts that you have for Watch for Me CT?
Well, I mean, we have a long way to go. We have a lot of
How
work.
would people reach? If you said you do a lot of outreach, and if somebody wanted Watch for Me CT to come to their town, their community, their library to have a talk, how would they get a hold of you?
So there's a few things. We have an amazing, recently redesigned website that includes, like, you can find data, what are the numbers right now, what trends are we seeing? You can find all that there. We have a number of resources.
And what website is that?
It's watchformect.org.
Gotcha.
So visit watchformect.org.
Yep.
We have a Facebook page that's very active where we can connect with a lot of towns and bike walk groups and other folks. Back to the website, though. The website has resources, printable resources, shareable social media resources, lots of things for all ages, things for biking, for walking, for drivers, for kids, for elderly. I mean, we've got everything. It's kind of a one-stop shop. So we encourage people to visit that, and they can find on there our contact us, or they can reach us on Facebook and just let us know what their needs are, what they're looking for, and how we could help them to bring their bike ped game up to the next level.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being on the show, and look forward to being on the board with you. And
thanks for having me.
7 years ago, I think it was, that you were in my class and you became
yes, I took your bicycling class. Yes,
and you were one of my best students.
So
that's all good.
Not true,
It's
but very
good.
sweet. I still can't do that fast turn. Man, that's tricky.
We'll keep trying.
All right.
Until next time, I'm Steve Mitchell, and keep walking, keep riding your bike. Be safe. Thank you.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education,
and live broadcasts.
SCM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings,
and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SCM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SCM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth,
and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SCM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
your schools,
and your government come together.